All right, we're going to discuss why Bitcoin went up today, where it will go, and maybe when it will get stuck, and other interesting things. First of all, Bitcoin went up today. It's not because of the Russia thing. Yes, it was good that Vladimir Putin allowed Bitcoin mining in Russia, but that's more or less because Putin is super uber desperate at this point, and he is literally trying to look for any way possible to ramp up his economy because he's kind of running out of money. That's why you go and beg North Korea for weapons because you're running out of them. But Bitcoin actually went up because people realized it wasn't the end of the world. No, I'm like serious about this one. Because when Japan upped their interest rates and like they liquidated a bunch of the investors that were heavily leveraging on borrowing their yen, people thought it was the end of the world. They acted like Japan was going to launch nukes against the United States for vengeance for World War II. But people realized that wasn't happening. And they're like, oh, it's not the end of the world. What those investors did only really affects those investors, and that money will actually be reallocated in a set amount of time. And because of that, we better buy back. And that's what's actually been happening in the last 2 days. And people are hurriedly buying back before the price goes even higher. That's why we basically regained most of our footing. Now, before the Bitcoin conference and all this crazy stuff happened, we were at 63K, 63 to 65K. And that's exactly where I expect we will actually go back to after all this craziness is over. I don't think there's been any real event that really catapults us above that. And if we do go like solidly break 65K, I do believe a new all-time high within a month is definitely in the cards. But I expect us to languish around 63 to 65K because that's where we originally were, and I think that's where a lot of the inertia is kind of there, unless something breaks it, like a conference or like this giant like economic supposed downturn that really wasn't a downturn. But we do have a piece of good news I've been mentioning the last few days that if you look at crypto, quant, and other statistics, you will see that the big wallets did not sell. They've actually accumulated what's known as the whale wallets, those holding over 10 BTC. I mean, I know 10 BTC isn't really a whale, but it's still a lot of money. It's like over like $600,000. So it's still a lot of money, but 10 those over 10 BTC, which is a small minority of the wallets, they've actually been accumulating all this time. They have not been selling all this time. And their accumulation reached a peak during the drop a couple of days ago. They've been accumulating all of July as people have sold, and they really accumulated a lot when people actually dumped. So they were definitely buying the dip. That's also one of the reasons we came up so fast. I didn't actually expect us to come up back up quite as fast after Monday's drop. I thought people would stay shell shocked for a while, but I was wrong. They actually didn't stay shell shocked nearly as long because the big guys didn't really care about charts or graphs. They also didn't really care about like the miscellaneous FUD that said like the economy was going to go into a recession. They didn't believe any of that stuff. They just kept buying or kept holding. They did not sell. They believe in Bitcoin's future, and they know the economy is not going to hell in a handbasket anytime soon. And they, like BlackRock, Fidelity, they realize that the Dow losing so many points wasn't because of a massive downturn of some sort. They realized that even though a 4.3 unemployment rate is high compared to what we have been getting, it's still very, very low historically. Yes, it's still fairly high. It's still fairly close to full employment. And they realized that those were the kind of numbers you actually needed for Jerome Powell to basically guarantee a rate cut. So they realized this was actually good in the long run future for the country and also for finances. So they had no trouble buying. Now people are expecting after this that Jerome Powell cuts at least 50 basis points this year and maybe as much as 200 basis points in 2025. I wouldn't hold my breath on that 200 basis points, but they could actually cut a lot in 2025, and that will help us majorly. That would majorly help us with like getting some of those numbers back in line. So I actually think that overall health wise, economy is fine. Overall health wise, crypto's fine. We just had a really big shock that rebounded really fast once people realized it wasn't the end of the world. Once Nikkei actually regained most of its losses the day afterwards, and once the Dow regain most of its losses. The stock market is probably going to be exactly where it was like post drop, like a week from now. And I think crypto is going to be in that 63 to 65 area. And it might maintain that area for the foreseeable future until another event happens, or like these ETFs actually kick into gear and they start accumulating higher. The fact that the big guys were accumulating, that might set us up with a slightly higher base, because the big wallets did actually accumulate over 400,000 Bitcoin over the last month or two. So they've actually been gathering all those. And BlackRock has been buying the ETF. MicroStrategy is always buying, but a lot of other players have been buying as well, especially since the ETFs came on. I expect Ethereum to obviously bounce up because people will start buying the Ethereum ETF. So I think that's a really good buy right now. And I think like altcoins will probably be middling until around the end of the year. Meme coins aside, some of them will blow up, some of them will fall, but that's just the way that memes actually work. So overall, yeah, that's why Bitcoin has actually been going down. And that's why Bitcoin has been rebounding. And I think that's why I think it's going to get stuck in that $63,000 to $65,000 area. But I hope it can clear 65,000, because then I think like 73 plus is in the cards. But that might not happen for several months. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.